Hello and happy middle of the week. My name is Michael Leeserman here with the Trial Guide's tip of the day. The date is July 9th, 2025, and our tip today comes from David Ball on damages. Here to read today's tip is David Ball. Thank you for being here, David.
Thank you for doing this, Michael. Let me read this. For best results, rehearse 2 or 3 times in front of different, quote, juries made up of people you do not know and who are not in the legal profession. First, run your jury voir dire on them, and then do your opening. Get their reactions afterwards.
Yeah, go ahead.
The value of this is simply you cannot do your best when you're doing it for the first time in front of a real audience. This is the equivalent of an actor's dress rehearsals. No professional in the world who has to get up and perform in front of people tries to go on with not ever having rehearsed what they're going to do. And I'm not talking about in front of a mirror, because that's you, or in front of a video camera. I'm talking in front of strangers who are there that you have to deal with as entities in the room. No athletes, nobody. Everybody else does live runs of some kind. You need to as well, and you'll find you do much better. For example, if you're doing jury selection, even if you're experienced, you'll get up and do the jury selection as well as you would do it as if it had been your second day of jury selection and trial. And you'll do that right from the top. That's why this kind of rehearsal is so important. The problem is you get so busy at the last minute before trial, you're dealing with all those idiotically annoying motions from the defense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Block out a couple of hours in advance. Just make believe they don't exist for anything else. Have somebody gather you 5 or 6 people you've never met before who don't know you, have nothing to do with the legal profession, don't know anything about the case, any of that. Different ages if you want, spread the demographics out a little bit. And try your voir dire. Ask them those questions. See how they go. You'll learn something there, and you'll feel better doing it the next day.
Absolutely. I don't know how anyone could disagree with that. I'm curious if anyone does. Put some comments in the below whatever format you're watching this or whatever platform.
It's hard to do is the problem because your time is so limited at that point.
I mean, it's partly why I do a focus group. There's other reasons to get substantive information, but part of it's just to practice.
Well, the problem with you're doing you're presenting yourself to your focus groups is that injects a factor into the case that won't be in trial, so you get misleading results. In other words, you versus somebody else doing the defense, say, in a focus group is a very different dynamic from you versus actual defense counsel. So we don't do that. We have someone other than the attorneys do the presentation if we're testing just the case.
Yeah.
So we kind of separate out the separation, testing the case as opposed to rehearsing the attorney. It's also so easy to do now because you can actually do these rehearsals on a Zoom. It's better if you do it live, but it's better than nothing to at least do them by Zoom. And those are very easy to set up. You don't need to give anybody coffee or have places to park. Just get online with 4 or 5 people and do these things. You won't get quite the same practice as if it's live. And if you're at all subject to stage fright that interferes with your performance, one of the best ways to get rid of the stage fright is to have it on that first rehearsal so that in trial it's diminished somewhat.
I'm curious what you think. I can't imagine doing an opening without having practiced it over and over, but I feel different about closing because I feel like closing, there's some more room for spontaneity. Now I've practiced my closing over and over, the basics of it that come from your book, but
I don't tell people they really ought to rehearse their closing. By then you're comfortable working in front of your jurors. You know what you're talking about. If you're nervous about it, you might want to do a rehearsal or two. it's better. The best thing to do for any kind of performance at some point anyway is to do it in front of a video camera when you do your rehearsals, not just the live jurors there, so you can evaluate it afterwards. Don't do it in front of a mirror, because then you tend to self-correct. You say, "Oh, I'm bouncing around here," and you never even realize you made the correction, so you don't correct it next time you do it. But yeah, I'm not sure I would push it that hard on closings. Um, I'm never against. I wouldn't be against it. I just don't think it's essential as doing a rehearsal for voir dire and second for opening. If I had to choose between those two, I'd say do those rehearsals for voir dire. That's your first contact with a jury. You don't want them to see you stumbling and being scared and not being at your best and in command, because you want them to look to you as a leader they can trust.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just not that. You're starting out. You're feeling there's ways to deal with that. That's a separate issue. Solvable, but separate.
Well, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today. Let's take a deep breath together and just be grateful to be alive this Wednesday. May the work that we do today help to reduce suffering in the world. May it help to repair the world. May we fiercely and compassionately advocate for our clients. May we understand that we can do both, be fierce and compassionate. May our actions today exemplify the law, exemplify the profession of lawyering at its highest ideals of truth and honor and integrity. I'm going to ring a bell 3 times now. As you hear these chimes, let them take you into a meditation practice, a prayer practice, or just let the sounds wash over you and remind you, it's Wednesday, wake up, go out, do good things, and have fun while you're doing it.